Hi, welcome everyone. My name's Stephen Cutter. This is Thatcher McGilson. We're coming to you live from Morocco for the African Blockchain Week. We're so grateful to be here and to be speaking to you today. We're going to be presenting the World Hemp Alliance and how hemp is one of the most sustainable crops for the future and how it directly affects each one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and how blockchain is related. A little bit of background on myself. I've been a hemp activist, enthusiast, networker, and researcher for over 10 years, helping bring some of the top minds together to help stand up this industry as part of a movement to help benefit the people and the planet. My partner here, Thatcher, he's been in the space for over 20 years. I like to call him a walking encyclopedia of hemp. I thought I knew a lot about hemp, and he's taught me so much already. Thatcher, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm from Vermont, USA, just north of New York City, and I have an 84-acre farm where we actually grow hemp. I've been a hemp advocate since I was a teenager, and so going on 25 years now of singing it from the rooftops, and I decided to actually put it into practice and start growing hemp. So in our presentation, I'll be sharing a couple of photos of some of the products we're making currently with hemp, and really looking forward to getting into it. Again, thank you so much to Africa Blockchain Week, the Merita Group, and NextChanger for having us here. It's truly one of the best experiences of my life so far, and we're only been here for a day and a half, so I can only imagine what lays ahead. So jumping right into it, we have the slide presentation here. I'm going to turn it on.
Great. So as I mentioned, the World Hemp Alliance is a group of alliance members that are pioneers and thought leaders in all parts of the hemp space, from concretes to plastics to batteries, you name it. And so there's three main pillars of the World Hemp Alliance. It's to help establish regional cooperatives around manufacturing and production. The last 80 years, this plant was illegal for most parts of the world, so there's really not much manufacturing processing set up, and so we're looking to help set up this industry as part of a cooperative. The second pillar is about innovation and incubation. We got a hemp material science incubator where if you have an idea about hemp and you don't know how to make it, you can bring it to us and we can help you formulate it, market it, get financing for it, and even help sell it. And then the third pillar is education. Still, most of the world doesn't know what hemp is or what hemp can do. And we've built a TV show to where if you watch the show and you like that hemp food product or that hemp clothing, whatever it is, you'd be able to directly invest into these hemp industries via our World Hemp Alliance token. As I mentioned before, hemp directly can affect each one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and we'll walk you through them right now. First, we'll have Thatcher talk to you a little bit about how hemp can be integrated in almost any type of material.
Yeah, this is a really good quick overview flow chart of how hemp is used or can be used in so many different things. So this will give you some good context as we go through the SDGs. Starting with using the entire plant, the stalks, the leaves, the flowers, the seeds. It's really valuable for use in raw materials. It's actually the main source of linen. Like this shirt I'm wearing here is actually made 100% out of hemp. It's actually made in Romania. So this hemp was grown and processed in Romania. Like I said, most of the world's linen source, actually over 90% of the world's linen actually comes from hemp. Then, of course, it's used for papers. A lot of people have heard of hemp papers. You can imagine the impact that would have environmentally. We'll get into a little bit more details. But yeah, I figured we could share this slide to just give you an idea of how it's not just for used for raw materials, but obviously it's you can make high quality medicines and foods and personal hygiene products, and even many industrial products like paints, varnishes, fuels, lubricants, etc.
So hemp can directly impact poverty on many different ways. You can create local economies out of hemp. It's one of the most ideal renewable resources. Popular mechanics dubbed it the first trillion-dollar crop in the 1920s before they made it illegal. It says 50,000 uses, but it's almost endless the amount of uses hemp can be integrated into, and we feel it can help poverty in so many ways.
Yeah, so when it comes to food and hunger and the challenges we're facing around the globe with that, hemp really can be the champion to address this. I mean, not just for human feed, but animal feed too. It can be used for so many different things. You've got proteins. There's 41 different naturally occurring sugars. It's an environmentally sustainable, the most environmentally sustainable protein source on the planet, and the healthiest protein source, which we'll get into some more details on in the next slides. This is just some photos of examples of hemp foods and what they look like. This here in the middle is actually hemp hearts. That's the inside of the hemp seed, the cannabis seed, looks like that, and it's loaded with high quality healthy fats, omega fatty acids, proteins, and nutrients.
You can make hemp milk, you can make hemp oil, hemp juice, hemp flour.
Yep.
It can be integrated in a lot of different hemp foods that are actually using a lot of chemicals and a lot of water. So hemp is an ideal food source.
Yes, you can actually even eat the plant directly. I like to say, and this is true, you could survive on hemp indefinitely with the protein and the nutrients, and then drinking the juice for the vitamin C and all the other nutrients. It truly is fascinating. Here is an example of some hemp sprouts that I was thinning at my farm that I put as a garnish. They're actually little baby hemp plants, and they're delicious. This is Stephen and I at a hemp foods, or not a hemp foods factory, but a vegan foods factory where we will be partnering with them to produce hemp ice cream and hemp milk, and we'll be distributing that throughout the world. So when it comes to health and well-being, hemp really is champion here too, honestly. The impact with hemp on your personal health is fascinating. It really truly can address a lot of the issues with some of the most challenging health concerns in our global population currently, with everything from heart health and cancer and diabetes. It really helps to balance and optimize the cellular environment in the human body and animals, like I mentioned as well. So it definitely is applicable to addressing good health and well-being for humans and animals around the world. Here's some examples of products made from hemp. This is my brand biota.eco. The word biota means all living things in a specific region or time period. So really what this is supposed to communicate is that we want the best for all living things. We work in harmony with Mother Nature, and we practice beyond organic farming techniques in Vermont. So this is the actual retail products that we make, and we were really looking forward to helping bring some of these processes to Africa to produce similar products here, but with the local economy, and empowering the locals to produce maybe their own brand with some of these techniques.
Now we touch base on education. Like I mentioned again, 80 years this plant was illegal. So most of the world has no manufacturing, they have no genetics, they have no technologies, they have no resources to actually produce and make anything out of it. So what we've put together is a group of people to help stand up the industry and bring these resources as part of a collective. Think of it as a template that can be stood up in any region. It's also good for gender equality. When you can create your local economies with the same plant, you know exactly who's doing it, how they're doing it, and one of our initiatives is to help women get into the space.
Yeah, when it comes to clean water and sanitation, hemp can really help dramatically here by reducing the amount of pesticides necessary to produce our fibers that would obviously compete with cotton for clothing. It uses less water than cotton and far less pesticides, if any at all. It regenerates the soil by helping to clean the soil. It's a bioremediator, so it'll clean polluted soil. It'll also help build carbon matter, organic matter in the soil to help with water and nutrient retention, keeping the nutrients in the water where it belongs in the soil, instead of washing out into our waterways and causing all kinds of pollution and algae blooms and toxicity. So truly very powerful applications here.
Great. And again, hemp has so many different uses, even in energy. You can obviously make biofuels out of hemp. You can also make graphene. Graphene is a super material. It's a superconductor. supercapacitor. So what that means is you can make batteries with it. They're about 8 times more efficient than lithium-ion batteries, and you don't have to mine for it. You can just grow it, and it's actually far less expensive to create graphene batteries out of hemp as well. You can also make biopellets and use it for paralysis and even charcoal. A lot of parts of the world still are chopping down trees to use charcoal for cooking. So we can, instead of chopping down trees, you can grow a plant that can be produced in about 120 days. Here's some examples of the batteries in the fuel. Again, with the economic growth, when you can create a crop that is basically, it's not just an agricultural component, it's a community development vehicle. So when you have hemp in a region, you can integrate it into just about any manufacturing that's already happening: plastics, paper, textiles, food, etc. But it can help, instead of having to ship things all over the world, you can create things locally.
Yeah, absolutely. So for industry, innovation, infrastructure, when it comes to integrating hemp into some of the existing infrastructure processes, like, for example, concrete or cinder block building, you can actually just add hemp to those processes and it will improve the quality and strength of it, even if you're only adding a small amount. In Japan, they used up to 30% hemp hurd, the woody pulp material on the inside that you can make fiberboards and papers and plastics from. But just in its raw form, mixed in with concrete, it can offset the use of a lot of concrete, helping to protect the environment, because concrete actually has a really high embodied energy cost, which means it has a very high carbon emission. So not only that, you're offsetting the use of the concrete, the amount of it, but also it then yields an even higher quality, stronger structure as well.
Yeah, and actually, I learned from Thatcher that even 20 years after hempcrete is poured, it continues to sequester carbon into into the material.
Yeah, that would be a slightly different application of actually a hemp lime material. But yeah, the hemp lime construction is fascinating. Don't really have time now to get deeply into the details of all this stuff. But speaking from more of a general, higher level, we can address the plastics industry, even like Stephen was mentioning with graphene and supercapacitors. It's really, truly fascinating, and you can find out a ton more information about this stuff with us at the World Hemp Alliance. Here's an example of a hemp processing equipment, just to give some context again. This is the type of equipment that is being used and made currently for processing actually hemp seed for the food.
Again, when you can create a product in economy locally, you reduce inequalities. Like when you buy products from China or from India or Bangladesh and all over the world, you don't know who's producing it. You don't know what the working standards are. You don't know the quality control, really anything. So when you know the person down the street that's producing your hemp, you can really track and trace and make sure things are more equal.
Yeah, and right, leveraging the blockchain for that to really, with the proof of that development is powerful. So bringing transparency and community with technology and hemp is truly the core of our goals and values here.
So sustainable cities and communities, you can create your energy, you can create your food, you can you help restore the land. It's really endless what this plant can do.
So with responsible consumption and production, we can make biodegradable, non-toxic hemp plastic products. Here's an example of hemp plastic sunglasses as a use case example. Here's something that could be used in the pharmaceutical industry or medicines or even just regular consumer product goods. This is a hemp plastic child-safe food or medicine container. Just a couple of examples of responsible consumption, but communicating that to the customers to understand that they're actually playing a role in helping to protect the environment and improve their personal environment really helps it hit home.
And even one of our alliance members, Hemp Plastic Company, as you can see, you can replace a lot of throwaway plastics and also papers. So you don't have to chop down trees anymore to make paper products. You don't have to mine for oils. So it does two things. It stops extractive industries, and it also prevents us from throwing away stuff into our oceans and landfills.
So with climate action, hemp can be grown in pretty much almost every region of the world, which is really fascinating considering that it has such wide applications, right? It's truly unfortunate that we haven't been able to do it on a large scale due to cannabis prohibition, but now things are changing. I like to say there's a green light at the end of the tunnel, and hemp really is the most sustainable and versatile crop on earth. I also like to say it's not a drug, it is a conservative natural resource with thousands of industrial and domestic applications, right? So with mass CO2 sequestration, soil regeneration, creating jobs, we're helping to protect the environment and take action. We're really helping it to hit home so people can really feel involved and actually feel empowered. I think a lot of the issues right now with switching to a more green economy and infrastructure is that people feel like they're powerless or they can't do anything. But the cool thing is that with hemp, it's really truly empowering and it helps us take action. Here's an example of a combine. A combine harvester means that it's combining multiple processes into one pass. So what this is doing here is it's helping harvest the seed pod for the grain and the food, and then it's also harvesting the stock material for all the other applications and uses. This can take the material and separate it into different. So this is actually happening on a large scale in some locations, but not large enough scale to really have a real impact. This is not pie in the sky ideas. This is stuff that's actually functioning and working, and we just want to help bring it to more locations around the world.
How can hemp help the oceans, life below water? So a lot of the problems in the oceans is through agricultural runoff, the spraying of chemicals and tilling of the soils, and all this stuff goes in our rivers and goes in our oceans and creates algae blooms and really creates a toxic environment for the ocean. So when you use hemp, you need far less chemicals, if any at all, and you have a lot better soil health and also water health.
Absolutely. And then when it comes to life on land, the forest, the original the original shelter. So, even early humans lived and used the forest as our shelter, right? And if you think about it, the forests have been providing our shelter for all of our buildings for a long time, right? But for wildlife, for birds and all types of animals, the forest is really their home. They use on land to have shelter from extreme heat or rain or storms. And when you're protecting forest and stopping and reversing deforestation with hemp, you truly can help impact life on land globally.
Hemp is also a peaceful plant. I think it really brings people together. It heals really almost everything it touches, from the soil to the animals, to the water, to the air quality, even to your human body. So hemp can really help bring these strong institutions and peace to the world.
Absolutely.
It's also very good for partnerships. When hemp can be integrated in all the local businesses and enterprises, it really forces people to think, how can we all work together, right? Instead of having separate industries, we can also bring these all under one roof.
That's right, because no one organization or company or country can do all of this. We all have to work together, and that's why we created the World Hemp Alliance and are pushing to make this happen globally, and especially in Africa, not just to protect the environment and help reduce some of the damage that's been done, but also to bring us all together and conquer these goals together.
Great. And we mentioned the circular economies before, and we'll get into how this can directly is affected by blockchain and how you can track and trace everything. And we'll go right into the blockchain components now. Well, first we touch base on how it's the most ideal regenerative agriculture crop. You can help clean the water, create new energy sources. It's one of the most ideal and sustainable food sources, and help prevent forestry, deforestation as well. So we'll go right into the tracking. So everyone knows how blockchain can track and trace and be transparent. We're going to be using it to not just track and trace the actual physical good, but also track and trace the ecological improvements. So the soil health, the water health, the air health, even the local community health will all be impact metrics that we're going to be using. And we'll also be using natural capital accounting, which I'll talk to you on the next slide. So natural capital accounting it's a principle I was introduced to about 5 years ago from the founder of the Earth Dollar, David Cam, and it's one of the most simple but beautiful constructs. So natural capital accounting simply states that the more you improve an ecosystem, the more valuable it's worth. So when you think at a home being dilapidated and run down, it's not worth anything. But if you improve it, it's worth a lot more. So our home, the Earth, needs a lot of improvement, and we're going to be tracking these environmental improvements and rewarding people for the carbon sequestered, oxygen produced, biodiversity created, water purified. And then even when you look into not having to chop down trees, not having to mine for oil and concrete, these are all going to be additional value metrics that we're going to share with the farmers and the producers. And I'll go hemp and the blockchain, the actual technology, and what can you do with it, right? So one of our initiatives is to make sure that this industry is stood up in a cooperative fashion. So one of the things we're doing is raising these regional packages. It's around $30 million to put in a manufacturing hub into a region. And our goal is to help make sure that even the local people can invest into this. So that gets into the micro futures contract. So if you don't have $1 million or $10 million, you can invest $500, $50, $1,000 and get a token for your representation for your investment. We'll also have payment processing tools so people can pay. There's a lot of problems still with banking in the hemp and cannabis industry around the world. And then we'll also have investment opportunities into these incubator companies. So if you like these new hemp companies that you see like hempplastic.com or Eat More Hemp, you name it, you'll be able to directly invest into these companies through a token. And we're actually going to index that to the whole World Hemp Alliance members. So you're not just investing into one company, you're investing into the whole hemp movement.
Yeah, that's how we can do it together to make everyone feel like they're empowered to actually have impact and that they're actually also going to be rewarded by their efforts.
Thank you so much for listening to us today. I hope you guys have a better education on hemp and how it can directly impact the world in a positive way. If you need to reach out to us, our information's there, worldhempalliance.world. And it's been a pleasure presenting to you here from Morocco. Thank you so much, African Blockchain Week and Juan Lee. We are very excited to be part of this network.
Yes, thank you again so much. Peace and love.